All right, so they put Hegseth first because they thought he'd be the most controversial, and then they had Pam Bondi second because they thought that she'd be the most impactful. They also had Marco Rubio today, and we'll get to him in a minute. But this hearing today for Pam Bondi had the most hypothetical questions you could possibly imagine. More than I thought, actually, because Pam Bondi is under oath, and Democrats want to hold her to any statement she makes once she's confirmed, because she will be confirmed. But Ted Cruz summed up this entire hearing in his opening statement.
I thought the exchange just a moment ago with Senator Hirono was illustrative. She asked you how you would respond if the president asked you to target his political enemies. It's rather striking because it's not a hypothetical. It has happened over the last 4 years. And I think perhaps the most tragic legacy of the Biden-Harris administration has been the politicization and the weaponization of the United States Department of Justice.
Full display here. And if you don't think they did that, consider a CAT scan. Democrats wholeheartedly supported the weaponization of the justice system. They just did. And now they're worried about it being done to them, starting at Russian collusion. And look, I fault Jeff Sessions early on for this, who was Trump's first attorney general. Robert Mueller looked into Donald Trump for Russian collusion for the bulk of his presidency, and there was no proof, nothing whatsoever. And I can say with a reasonable degree of certainty, folks, that they probably knew it wasn't true when they started the investigation. The irony is that the people investigating Donald Trump for that, one of them actually went to jail for actual Russian collusion himself. You cannot make this stuff up. Look, I don't have to tell you all the instances, but they raided Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago illegally with a prosecutor who was illegally appointed, which got the case thrown out. They put people in jail who weren't even at the Capitol on January 6th. The DOJ assisted in state prosecutions that they're not supposed to be involved in. They've all fallen apart like Fani Willis's. They dispatched senior DOJ employees to work in the Manhattan DA's office to, get Trump. Hell, they put a guy in jail for a meme. The left is worried that Pam Bondi is going to do to them exactly what they did to Trump and his people. The only difference is Democrats seem to have actually broken the law, and there's this little pesky thing that Democrats didn't have on Trump, which is evidence. What they're worried about is that Pam Bondi is going to go after Jack Smith for his bogus investigations, Liz Cheney for conspiring with a witness to change her testimony outside of her attorney's representation, and the rest of the J6 committee for deleting evidence, and even Merrick Garland for allowing all that to happen.
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know you.
I am listening to you now. Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one who refused to meet with me, Senator. But what we would have discussed is that it is the job of the Attorney General to
I'm very happy to listen to your
response.
responses under oath, Ms. Bondi. I'm just asking whether you would consider Jack Smith
Senator,
to be one of the people. How about Liz Cheney?
Senator,
How about Merrick Garland?
I am not going to answer hypotheticals.
And the Democrats that are the most worried about this are likely the ones who involved. You know what was so interesting, actually, too, and I just realized that so many Democrats yesterday were complaining that Pete Hegseth didn't meet with them prior to the hearing. I mean, I wouldn't have wasted my time either because they were never going to vote for me. But they just complained about not meeting, which is crazy because one of the Democrats, that woman you just heard, Mazie Hirono, she just said she refused to meet with Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi requested a meeting with her, and Mazie didn't take it. I understand Republicans not meeting with somebody who's never going to vote for them, but this just shows me the fact that Mazie Hirono didn't take the meeting. And Pam Bondi called her out for it, which is great, but that her opposition has nothing to do with qualifications or reality. It's purely partisan. It's the left is going to oppose anyone Trump nominates for any position, even like dog catcher, because they know there were a ton of legally dubious actions under this reign for the last 4 years. Democrats were 100% convinced that their lawfare was somehow going to keep Trump out of office, that they were willing to gamble in what seems to me was breaking the law in order to do it. And in some last-ditch effort, they try to make Pam Bondi into some conflicted foreign agent from Qatar. We went from Russia to Qatar now.
You did not list your current position as a partner at the lobbying firm, nor the work you've done for your Ballard partner clients, such as lobbying for the country of Qatar. for $115,000 a month, and for corporate giants Amazon and Uber when you were asked about conflicts of interest. Why do you believe your work as a lobbyist does not constitute potential conflicts of interest?
Well, Senator, first, that was the amount my firm received. I believe multiple people represented the country of Qatar within my firm.
This is rich, considering a fellow member of Dick Durbin's Democrat Party, Robert Menendez, had to step down and is being charged in part for ties and compensation that he did not disclose, partially from Qatar. At least Pam Bondi registered and disclosed her actions, which is compliance with the laws that people like Dick Durbin wrote. You don't like it, Durbin? Change the law. But I find it rich that all of a sudden a Democrat is concerned about someone receiving money from a foreign government, because here's Dick Durbin, not even 2 years ago, wondering why Republicans are so concerned about Joe Biden taking foreign money.
There's a fixation on the Biden family by many Republican leaders, and I think there are other issues that are more relevant and important in the lives of ordinary Americans.
Things that make you go, He was taking money, but Biden was taking money from an adversary. Hunter Biden picked up $2 billion from China for a private equity fund. Don't get me even started on Ukraine, which was the same amount that Pam Bondi was just questioned for, over $100,000 a month. And this was the trap. The Democrats were like hoping that she would fall into. Look, this woman was a genius attorney general of Florida. Overwhelming support. She's not going to fall. They were hoping she would promise to not investigate things so they could use it as a talking point if she ever did.
So, really troubled, deeply disturbed by some of your responses and non-responses to the question that you've been asked today. You say the right things, that you're going to be the people's lawyer. That's what you have to say to be here.
I need to clarify something that you said, that I have to sit up here and say these things. No, I don't. I sit up here and speak the truth. I'm not going to sit up here and say anything that I need to say to get confirmed by this body. I don't have to say anything.
Yeah, man. She was not having it. And while we're being disturbed about stuff, Dick Blumenthal, I'm deeply disturbed by your stolen valor. But you've never apologized for that. You didn't resign. So let's talk about that moral high ground, shall we? No? Maybe not. Maybe move on from that. You guys are in the minority now. You ran roughshod over American citizens with the DOJ and then confirmed a Supreme Court justice, by the way, that couldn't even define what a woman is. And America rejected it by a lot, too. It wasn't even close. And now you want to come back to Robert's Rules of Order and the rule of law all of a sudden? Look, I think Pam Bondi did all the right things today. She's literally a flawless candidate for Attorney General. But let me tell you how this is going to go, Democrats. If anybody's worried about her playing nice today on the Republican side, guys, it's okay. This woman's going to get into office. She's going to take a look at the evidence. And, you know, don't need to be a lawyer to see that people like Liz Cheney and the Jan 6 committee deleted evidence, which is breaking the law. 77 million people clearly saw that Trump was unjustly prosecuted. And I know Pam Bondi personally, she's going to be looking into that. And if they stepped over the line in that process to get Trump, she's going to bury them. She's not going to make stuff up like Jack Smith did, which also might land him in some hot water, which is why he and all the people who worked for him during this prosecution, which was a sham, scurried like rats off a sinking ship in the last few days. But here's something I don't think is getting big enough news. Pam was asked if she would go against career prosecutors. Well, judging by how a lot of those career prosecutors operated for the last 8 years, I would sure hope so. Her job's not to be independent from the White House, as Democrats continued to insinuate. Her job is to help execute the agenda of the White House within the bounds of the law, making sure that that applies to all their cabinet positions, something we haven't seen in the last 4 years. She played nice today, but you Democrats out there who gave her a hard time, I hope she's never going to ask for your opinion on anything ever again.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on NEWSMAX.